So I was thinking, I'll take you through the QQQ chart and we
Okay.
can look at OKTA because that one did again have a nice move. Hey, Herb. So let's see what we get. I'm gonna share my screen.
Hey, Ivy, man, that stuff was looking okay.
Uh-oh, hold on. Let me
Sorry about that, y'all.
I don't know what was looking okay, but you're good. Um, we're gonna share screen, get to what were you guys trading? So somebody said Tesla. I had QQQ.
I traded Baba today.
How did you do? I hope you were on the right side. That was a really nice one.
Yeah, I was.
Good, good, good.
And I actually used that looking at the previous day high to see when it broke that, like you taught me on Sunday.
Cheat code. I
So
told
that
you.
worked out pretty.
Yes.
I started looking at that this week for everything, and I was like, okay, I see.
Yeah, like it's crazy how it works out because you can still
Uh-huh.
catch a trade in the inside day, like that's fine. Like you'll get some nice moves, especially when it's a wide range. But when it actually breaks those highs and lows, then you kind of have your
Yep.
direction, at least to the next nearest support that you can find, but you have an idea of what direction is. Um,
Yep.
Today we had data drop, right? And we have some more data. So it's still to me a little bit questionable where we're going in terms of just how the market will respond because we still have a lot of unemployment data. Let's see. Now, the reason why I was looking at ZOM was just because crude oil data dropped and I just wanted to see how it would respond, right? And so it actually did a nice pullback. And then it did a nice recovery. Like it paid
Yep.
up and
I caught
down.
that.
You did, yeah, it did good.
Yep.
So I was very surprised how well it pulled back. But then as about midday, it started to retrace all of what it lost. We'll look at ZOM too. We'll do it one time for the gas station crew. So we had ADP employment change, we had S&P Global Composite, and all of this stuff, guys, if you don't understand how it moves the market, you can always just pop it in the chat GPT. Now, going into Thursday before market opens, we're going to have some more data. Challenger job cuts, balance of trade, continuing jobless claims, exports, imports, all of that good stuff. So a lot of unemployment data. And I think again, Friday, we should get yeah. See, government payrolls, manufacturing payrolls, non-farm payrolls, all kind of payrolls. So I say all of that just to make sure that you are prepared and being mindful. Elon is about to have a meeting. Is that today? Can you look at Yes, I can. Chart set the charts up. Okay. Miss Baba, yeah, Baba definitely was running. Yeah, we'll look at the charts. I'll give you an idea of how I prep my charts. Now, of course, I trade from the Wolf charts. But what I just want to make sure is that even if you don't trade from the Wolf chart, you have a very clear understanding of how you can set your chart up. And we'll take a look at just different ways. So for me, the way I approached QQQ today and the way I shared my TNA for QQQ it's the same practice I always do. I'm going to follow my wolf chart with my traits, but there's some key things that I like to look at in preparing for the next day. And one of that is previous day low and high. So when I came into, and I'm just giving you the history, like we're not going to talk about what might happen yet tomorrow. We're just going to talk about where we're at first. So let me get this out the way. And if you have questions, guys, just let me know. But the first thing I do is I want to see the high and the low of the previous day. That's just my main go-to. And what I'm looking for is just kind of a measurement of what the day was like. And so we're in a daily time frame, and as you can see, I had the high and the low PDH and PDL already marked off. I'm going to take these order block alerts off. And my chart is just like that. And so everything else, again, is just already preset in this system. But I also want to make sure I focus in on my previous high and low. And we'll add in this. And so that's what I did. I set my pre-high and low, and then that's my range for trading QQQ. As long as it's in this range, it's still tradable. Like there's nothing wrong. That's a high of what, 503.74, and that's a range of 487.74 to the bottom. So in between that, we'll go to a smaller time frame and you'll see how that plays out. Like you can get nice trades within all of that. Now, where your key breakout is one, if we break that previous day high. So you can see that's been our challenge, right? Like this was a high of yesterday. We did not break it here, 503.74. Any questions on how I just kind of explained that?
So,
Now,
yeah,
go ahead.
sorry, I was distracted a little bit, Renette, about how you evaluate the previous day's candle to
Hmm.
determine high and low points. Can you run through that again?
Yeah, so when I'm looking at the previous day high and low candle, right? If I'm going to take this off for a second. What I'm looking at is just a measurement of the range that we can trade in for the next day over. And this will be my key resistance, your high point, and this will be one of my key supports, my low point. So what I'll be looking to see is if, mind you, we'll trade within this range. This is a good range to trade within. You can get ups and downs, but the actual key breakout would be if because we're on a daily chart, is if we break that previous day high or we break that previous day low. And so they'll make attempts, and then the next time over, you'll have to see if that we get a continuation candle. And what you can see with QQQ is that each time we were measuring the previous day high and low, and you can look back from probably like here. One, the little chart gave the arc. Then we lost the EMA. But when you start looking at high and low, even if you didn't catch the trade until we broke that low, we did all of this. Then we
Mhm.
broke another low here. We did all of this. And then you get an inside day. And when I say inside day, I'm just saying like we didn't break the high or the low of the previous candle. Still a tradable day, but we traded within the range of this previous candle.
Mhm.
And then
Makes
here
sense.
we did a real significant sell-off. And so that's my favorite way to kind of take my approach going into the day, is just to know the high and the low of the previous day candle. And I've been able to find myself more consistent as far as knowing key breakout points. Like I know if we approach this, we have to break it, right? Like we keep pulling up to it, but we're not breaking it. If we can do that tomorrow or whatever day this week or next week, that's our clue that we're actually bouncing off. And just something else to analyze with QQQ is they're in a daily demand zone. Like they're in quite a bit of support. They keep pulling back in it, but they're holding up pretty well. And this wick from yesterday was very interesting because it pulled right back to where we had an order block within a demand zone, and it wick right out of it. Like if you were watching the trade and you knew where we were going, once it hit this area right here, instant wick. And so that's when we got a bit of a bounce here. Um, so one more key point that I looked at for QQQ that I found interesting was the candle here. So the previous week's candle, for a moment, we actually had some challenges trying to make sure that we hold that support. So in my TNA, my analysis on this, I was sharing like, hey, we need to close price here. And you see what it did.
Can we
It
go to
came,
Publix real quick and get some eggs and stuff for tomorrow? So that way you guys could have
I'm
stuff.
sorry, the person that's
Because the
talking about
kids don't even have
Publix,
anything to eat
I'm gonna
when they get. Don't even come to Publix.
mute. Okay, sorry about that. Unmute yourself if you need to ask a question. Okay, so this is also something I was watching because we lost a 12 EMA here. It was looking to me like we could approach this zone, and I still don't think that's out the question. It really just depends on the market response. So for now, I don't think we're coming here until we start to really hold under this price. 496.93. And when I was looking at that price in smaller time frames, I'm like, where is this coming from? So when I zoomed out a little bit, I was like, well, I'm looking at this wick on this candle, and the low of it is that price. So we did a lot of battling here as well. And every time we broke above it, I knew we were coming back to test this high point. And so it played out pretty well on the smaller time frames when you look at it. So I'm gonna just put it on a chart, 496.93. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I just put a quick question in the chat. Is that a double top?
Let's see. Did I say 496? Okay, we're seeing a double top. Hey, yeah, it actually shows the same kind of way. Um, the way I was looking at it, it's just for sure we didn't break any of this. And when you look at it from the daily, you do kind of get that double top as well. See where we're trying to get out here, and then we tried to break out here, and nothing really special. I think we got some wicks, right? But nothing held. So QQQ basically topped off right there. They tried to get back, which we did get an all-time high out of them. When you zoom in on this candle here, 540.81. But yeah, you did get like that M formation, right? Like here, came back up, pulled back, instant sell-off. Now we're in an interesting spot because when price starts to shoot out of a demand zone, right? Like we can get a real nice retracement back up to test some of the highs. Probably going to be around 510. So when you trade those highs and lows from the 5 minute and the 15 minute, obviously you find that, and you can mark more support and resistance. But to me, this is really good. Like I knew if I didn't catch it here, that if price was going to hold at 496.93, we're going to come test that high again because we keep coming back to it. So that's all we've been doing here is just returning back to, but we're not holding when we come back and test it as support. So now we're just under it and we need to break out up. Now, if you didn't have the wolf chart, right, and you're just trying to set yourself up, what are some EMAs that you guys like to use? Let me check the chat. I know a lot of people like to use the 9 EMA. What are your thoughts on Tesla?
9 and a 20.
9 and a 20. Do you add the 200 with it, or you just do the 9 and 20? I actually have the
Add the
9.
200.
There you go. I like the 200
Pretty,
too.
I have a quick question.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Hey, I really appreciate your trainings, man. I've been killing them this week.
For on SPY,
So,
I'm sure.
well, you know what? Spy been trying to pimp a little bit this week. The contract's a little bit too high for me. I've been playing IWM, tearing the roof off.
Oh, okay. Good job.
So my question is, like when the stock is away from the moving average, right?
Hmm.
I use the 9 and the 20 and my wolf chart. I watch all of that. I got it's all synchronized. But when the 9 and the 20 are let's say it's uptrending,
Hmm.
and then there is significant space between the 9 and the 20. What does that mean?
So you're meaning like this space right here, right? Oh, wait, you're
No,
meaning the
yeah,
9 and the 20?
yeah, like sometimes the 9 and the 20 are close when they're trending, and then sometimes they far apart. It to me it seems as though when they're close in nature, like this one is right now on the uptrend on the
Hmm.
W inside of the W, like those are stronger trades when the 9 and the 20 are close.
So with a 9, we're looking just
But when
9.
they're
It's the look back period, right? That you're measuring when you do the 200, the 9, the
uh-huh.
5, whatever it is that you're looking back to get the average, then that's your difference. But you can see what I follow in terms of a gap is how far away are we from the 200? And then
There we go.
also, like this, you can see why that's the most significant piece for me is because how far away are we? And then when we come back to it, look what's happening. Every time we come back lately, we've tried to break out, we don't. come back to it. We try to break out. We don't. We reject. This time, interesting, we closed and held, but we know what's ahead of us. That's why I think it's good to map out, and this is just my opinion, what's ahead of you. Like you can follow your EMAs, but then you also want to just see where price is having these reactions, right? And so when you start to really look into the charts, you'd see it. Like we can just go back. If I didn't have this line here, I still can probably eyeball based on these candles here. Look how we were rejecting there. Based on these
Mhm.
candles in here, like you can eyeball your support and resistance. Of course, you could throw an indicator in there too and make it easy. But if you didn't know, you still can follow through, just finding where we could possibly be going. And that's where you start to see clusters and a lot of rejection here, if that makes sense. I see some chats. Let me see. MACD and RSI. Yeah, I like that one too. See, everybody uses different EMAs. And so if you're still confused about which EMA to use, I say just look into doing some research um, into what might work for you. I mean, you can pop in some questions in Chat GPT and get all the responses you need. Like you could find out what might work for you and back test it. Like don't forget we have the replay button. You can retest all of your strategies that you're thinking about using. And I know some people say they use RSI and MACD. That's also all great tools to add. And what it does is it just gives you confirmation after confirmation of where we possibly are going. But this was a nice, pretty a little bit of a messy but W pattern, right? That played out. It played out really nice on SPY if you caught that double bottom on SPY. All right, any questions about just the basics of what we went over? Like you can do this all day. And you can come off a mute if you have a question. But
Hi, Renette. This is Ed.
hey,
This is a question in direct response to the Wolf chart.
okay.
Now, you know how the Wolf Trending Moving Average and the 12 EMA versus the 200 EMA, say they fluctuate between certain time frames. You know, an
Mm-hmm.
ideal A plus setup would be to have the 200 below the 12 EMA, right? And the it be blue along with the, you know, obviously 200 being yellow. But my question is on the lower time frames, when it's the opposite, when the 200 EMA is above the 12 and close to a demand zone, um, in a supply zone, like when you know how those trend lines get real close together, do you typically just steer away from plays that are like within a short range, or do you wait till they break that trend line or they're on the upside before going in? I just essentially my question is that do you put a lot of emphasis on the 200 EMA on the lower time frames when it's above your 12 EMA, or do
When
you
it's
use that as a
above,
reference point for it to go up and hit it as a potential target?
you answered your question right there. If I
Okay.
see that price is if I see my 200 trending above, which for you see for us it's going to be red, right? Like as long as
Yep.
price is under, we're going to get this red. Um, if I see that happening, then my only thing is as we're moving up and we're breaking maybe like I said key support, I mean
Hmm.
resistance because we're going up, then I need to see how we react and if we hold on the 200. It's almost like you can use your EMAs as another I don't want to say support and resistance, but yeah, we're going to react to it. Like we're either going to be above it or below it. We'll pull back to it. And so you can see like what price does in an uptrend, right? Like we're going to move away from our EMAs. We're going to pull back to it. Away, pull back. And it's the same in and out pattern. It's like you're breathing or something. But some people look at it as a stairway too. But you
Okay.
can
And what about
expect
the arc?
that. Hmm.
The arc system? Um, does it have to be like a nice curve, or can it be a sharp, rigid curve, either in the up direction or the downward direction, or do
So
you
here's an
put a lot of emphasis?
example of like a choppy one, right? Like this is an incomplete arc because it didn't actually form
Yeah. See.
and
Yeah.
price held here. So if you took a trade here, you probably didn't get very much because it didn't give that full arc. It kind of, I mean, it didn't, yeah, it did a crossover, but it crossed right back. The cleaner ones are when it actually forms and gives a really nice curve up. That's what I've noticed in my usage of it is like I want to see that clean curve up.
Okay.
And
And one
you'll
last
catch it
question on
real
this.
time when you watching it.
Now, on that floating candle, do you wait for it to close above the 12 EMA, or say, or like this one here? You see how this the long one before, not that one, the one to the left, that one. Would
This
you
one.
set your entry point there, or would you wait for it to close above your 12 EMA?
Based on how bullish this candle was and the crossover, I would have taken a risk here lightly. Like I wouldn't have done anything. Also, I knew I could see we were having buyers starting to step in. So if you get some
Okay.
confirmations, I would. Here's your cleanest entry right here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to understand like what type of trader you are. For me, if and again, I trade QQQ a lot, so I'm a little bit more comfortable with how it moves. So with my arc system, I'm just going to know this is an inverse arc forming. Everything is curving out. We're getting all these wicks at support. So then I just know to take the trade. Now,
Gotcha.
your cleanest, and for anyone that's not using the wolf chart, that's okay. You got to remember the basics of are we above or below the EMA? Like that's like your first basic. And so even if you didn't take the trade here because we're breaking the EMA, taking a trade here was worth your while. We knew our target was 496.93. And so breaking that, you get the break. You always have to remember a retest. And so we did it actually, what? We broke it here, came back to it, wick right out, pulled up some more, came really strong back to it. So that might have taken some people out of their trade, especially if you move your stop loss up. Or if you just get scared with a candle like this, but then look what they did. Like it was just a very it got choppy right here, but it definitely broke the resistance that we were needing to see broken. And then it broke above the 200. So it started coming back and test that as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
So on something like that, where you would consider entering the trade on that bullish green candle where the crossover is, would
hmm
you switch to the 1 minute time frame, or how do you actually make your entry? Because I'm finding I don't make an entry there, but I make it up because I'm not confident enough yet. But what I'm finding is that I'm entering my trades way too late.
hmm
And yeah, like by the time I make a decision, okay, I'm gonna do this, it's like 2/3 of the way up, and then it's about to turn around. So that's what I'm having a problem with.
Um, so you mean so one, no, I don't use those time frames. That's just me. I get really jittery. I'm also working, so I don't really have time to be looking at that fast-paced time frame. 5 to 15 minute works just fine for me because I don't have the time to really monitor it too much. And so you could, to me, I find I would get psyched out a little bit too much here.
Yeah, I
It's just
do.
not my comfort zone. So the
Yeah.
5 minute for me with having a plan, and so that's why I say it's okay to just come to the market with a plan. This is what I'm trading today. Now, mind you, if you catch a bonus somewhere else, that's all great. But if you come and you focus just on your plan, then it's like it's going to play out so perfectly because you studied it. You know where your entry points are. You know what you want to see as resistance and where we might be going. And so your focus is that. And then again, I just don't do I don't do less than a 5 minute. Sometimes
Okay.
I'll peek at the 2 minute just for early heads up if it's like a really quick snipe. But you can see like just managing from the 5 minute, if you caught any of this on Tuesday, is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to
And
be afraid of red candles if they're not losing your EMA and they're definitely not stopping you out if you were down here in entry.
so then for this example, then what would be your expiry? Like, would that be a zero DTE, or would you choose an expiry like a week out? Um,
Um,
And
Give me one
also,
second.
if you're entering on a 5 minute candle, then how do you know what your entry price is? Because there's a lot of range on an option, right?
Yeah, good questions. So when it comes to expiration, so QQQ does offer ODTE, right? So same day expiration. In a trade that happens here, it's 10:40 for me personally. I'm gonna go one more day out. I really don't
Okay.
like to take anything. Now, here's where I do. This is probably gonna be okay. Maybe this is an example. If you're starting to get ORB break, and we can talk about ORB if you have questions, but let's just say this played out, right? Like I get a break and price starts to break out of the ORB from this opening candle and we
Yeah.
come all the way down. So this is what the low of this is 492. We retrace all the way to 487. That's a nice morning trade. You put the right amount of money in it, you get what you need out of it. And so when you catch this, I'm okay with ODT here because it's early in the day. And
Yeah.
so you're out by 9. And I think I did take this trade. You're done. Now, as we start to get a little bit later, I mean, maybe, yeah, you could do ODT here, but for me, my comfort zone is just having that extra day just in case. Because
Mhm.
around 10, 11 o'clock, I don't really want to get same day contracts. There's plenty of people that do. This is just what I'm telling you is my preference and comfort zone.
Mhm. Okay.
N-
And I have one other question that's on the wolf chart where we have the gray bars that go across the support and resistance.
mhm.
Sometimes they turn yellow. I was looking at Alibaba today and on different time frames that gray uh changes to yellow.
So if
What
you
does that
notice when
mean?
that happens, it just means that we have approached that resistance, and so we're trying to break it. So it just means price is like in it, around it, trying to, it just keeps touching it and trying to
Oh,
break out.
okay.
You'll even see it on
Okay.
like really thick lines of resistance and support, but the key point is to break in or out. But as we're pushing through that
Okay.
resistance, you'll see it turn yellow.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I think
What
you also
about
had a
the letter
question
B
about
on certain candles? Sometimes I
um
notice
buy.
I've seen like the square red B on certain red candles. I don't know what
Breaking the trend
that symbolizes.
line.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
breaking the trend line. Yep.
Okay. Okay. It's not breaking of structure. It's just breaking of trend line. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, you'll see
Okay.
BOS for that. Also, if you're looking for what is my strike price? Now, mind you, in an uptrend on a QQQ, if it's going to give a strong signal, personally, I'll go as close to the money as possible, or even out the money if I'm confident in my move. Like if I know we have a lot of space to move up, then I know that my out the money trade it'll do fine. But in the money
Mhm.
is ideal, right? You want to get the best Greeks you can. So going in the money or at the money. Another best practice that I got from Sean is just looking for your nearest resistance or support and making that your strike. And it works out really well. Like they can get expensive with QQQ and SPY, but like let's say I did ZOM, and so if I knew where my nearest target was, that could be my strike price.
Okay. Thank you.
Hmm.
Hey, Hustle, when you say strike price, that's your exit price, yes?
No, strike price is what I would buy my contract for. So if I knew that,
Okay,
for example, QQQ was going to 496, I might go try to find like a 496 contract. Again, you want to get as close in the money as you can
okay,
afford, just for the better outcome of how
okay,
much gains you can get. But yeah, my exit, I
okay,
also have that mapped out too, because I just like to know where my trade is going. If it breaks all of that and keeps going, that's fine for me. But typically, I try to know where we're going, so I know where I'm gonna try to start cleaning things up, moving my stop loss
okay.
up, whatever I'm gonna do. Let me see. Let's see what's in chat. I've been doing ODT and it works for me because I don't plan on keeping. Yeah, like if you're doing ODT and also if you're trading from like 5 minute, 1 minute, those trades don't last long at all. You need to be in and out of that unless you get just constant continuation confirmations. That's why I've been messing up searching for a trade today. Oh, someone asked about Anchor VWAP. We can look at that. I've been enjoying Anchor VWAP. In fact, let's go to the OKTA chart because that one was pretty nice. So you see, I already have my Anchor VWAP on it. This was so clean, y'all. I don't even want to go look at my watch list because I know the contract is probably up something crazy because I actually had planned the trade here. Like I knew like it was gonna start to react here, and so what I was looking for, I added a put and I added see, I even had an alert set on it. Funny. I added a put and I also added a call to my watch list, and I just was trying to see how it was gonna move. And so you see what it did, like it did this bouncing around and testing here on the Anchor VWAP, and then it just kept going. Like it did a really nice pop on Tuesday, and it continued the trade all the way through. But what I do when we have like a earnings or a big gap up, like even if a stock just opens up for whatever news or reason and it's a big gap up, you just pop that Anchor VWAP in right here. And to do that, you just I'll just redo it. You come here, so there's all these tools that you can start to learn from TradingView, and one of them is the Anchor VWAP. You can also do your long and short positions, by the way. So I don't know if anyone uses those, but it gives you a good risk to reward outlook that you can find plan for your trade. So it's another good tool to plan trading. So you're just gonna pop it in. Oops, I did that wrong. I'm gonna pick it up here and just pop it on my candle here. And so you just follow it. It's almost like yeah, you're just following it like you would follow your VWAP or EMA. Price is above, that's cool, but it didn't do a really big breakout because of how much it gapped up. So what it did was it came back and started testing EMAs. Early on in the day, the wolf chart had already given the arc. And so, yeah, it did nothing special. But once price started breaking away from that Anchor VWAP, and you can add this to your arsenal, like, right? Like it's just another thing that you can follow. Like if I didn't have anything on here, price came to this Anchor VWAP and look what it did. And you just have to also take a look at where the stock has been. And so I think, yeah, like we did a really nice we broke out of 114, which is what I was looking at, and ended up at 116. So I like Angry VWAP, and it follows you through different time frames. Mario does a lot on Anchor VWAP, and so was trying to catch up with how that method works. And so even if you're trying to plan a swing trade from the 4 hour, you got your pullback to Anchor VWAP, and then you get your break and continuation. So yeah, any questions on that? I do like the Anchor VWAP.
Renetta, could you just go over, please, again, where I start the Anchor VWAP? Do you start it on the candle, the beginning of the day, or where exactly where?
Yeah, you just started the first candle of the day, or as soon as the candle is forming. Like even if I was on a daily and I just popped it as soon as we open on that candle, it's gonna look like this when I come to the 5 minute. So it's your
Got you.
first candle. And I mean, you can follow it every day. Like if you just want to pop an Anchor VWAP on any opening candle, just follow it from
Okay.
the day. And there's way more to Anchor VWAP that you can look into because some people have much further back Anchor VWAPs. Like I may have had a VWAP here and then went back to their previous earnings and had a VWAP there and just kind of been following it. So it's still a lot I'm learning on Anchor VWAP, but as you can see, it's a really nice
Okay.
confirmation system because I've seen it where price is below it and it just continues to pull back and then they'll eventually come back and retest it.
So is that basically used after earnings or during earnings, or is it associated with earnings? Because I understand the VWAP, but the Anchor VWAP, I will do some research so we don't get too consumed with this. But I was just wondering, do you usually use it around earnings time?
Me personally, yeah.
Okay.
I like to try to catch, so, to avoid the whole risk you take with trading, like leaving something open through earnings. Me
Mhm.
personally, I find it that you can be profitable following the trade the following days. And sometimes what it does is it may even give you a gap up and then it just actually breaks down. There was one stock that posted earnings. I forgot what it was. And they they had like this real big sell-off, but at the time of opening and popping in the Anchor VWAP, the move was paused because buyers like immediately started consuming it at that price. So, but I knew that we were going that way because I was following my chart, and then I had that Anchor VWAP, and so I was just like, well, we're holding Anchored VWAP, we're breaking above, and I just knew where we were going. So, Okta was a really nice trade. I didn't actually break it down for anyone in Discord. I didn't even know I was going to take the trade. It just was one that I had thought about and had set up and was watching it the day before. And so we're getting a BOS and a daily, and you can see that we still have a good gap up on
Yeah.
this trade, at least a 125, this fair value gap. We have never came back to that.
Yeah, I
So
think the next one was, I think that my next resistant level that I plotted on there was 120. I'm not sure. I think that's what it was. It was 120 something.
let's see. We can do 125.30. And if you were watching, they cleared a supply zone on the daily, I think.
I think where
And
I had gotten mine from, it had a breaker structure, and that's where I
okay,
had taken mine from. Oh,
nice, nice. So this is going to be a so one thing when you have aggressive sell-offs, right? And so again, it's on my chart already, but you can train your eyes to know this. Like when you're starting to get these moves like this, where we just have a big move to the downside, you see
mhm,
you see the fair value gap that's created here.
mhm.
Eventually will price will always come back to it at some point. It could be years down the road. Like this was here in 2022. We're
Wow.
literally just coming potentially back to it. Like it still has to be proven that that's where we're going. But I mean,
Right.
it looks good from 116.
Let me write that down in my notes. Okay.
We get a breaker structure in the daily time frame. Yeah, they look pretty good. I'm gonna keep them on my watch. Now, obviously, what I want now is just to get some type of pullback. I think they did in the day come back and pull back to like that 110 price I was looking at, and confirm it to be support.
They
So
did.
that, yeah, they did. Joy, what were you meaning right? You can also add VWAP when you buy a call to see how the price is moving when you purchase the contract. Okay, good. Good to know.
I was asking, you were saying well you can use those you went to the anchor VWAP, but before that you were saying you can use on the on those sidelines the short and long positions to determine um where your contracts are going.
Yes. Let's
Can
see.
you show us how you do that?
It's a really cool tool. It also helps you with setting your stop loss. So let's say we're going long on this one. And let's just say our entry point is right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Oops, see, it already set it for me. So let's just say my entry point is going to be as we're getting off of the Anchor VWAP. So maybe I'm going to take the trade about right here. And let's just say I want my ratio to be, I'm trying to see where I can give you a good example. Okay, let's just say we're catching it on a pullback here. Okay, we get a pullback to this price. Now you have I mean, you can do a lot with this. You have to go in TradingView and like watch the video on it because it's so much you can do because you can even put in your price. I think you can put in your position, how much money you have it. Yeah, your account size, pretty cool. What you want your risk to be, etc. But when you drag it up, let's say I just want to have it set to a 2 to 1. Okay, this is my entry, and I'm going to move this red up because this red is going to be where my stop is positioned. And so you see when I'm moving it, it does change the risk to reward ratio. Um, 2 to 5, 2 to 5 would probably be pretty good. Something like this, right? So it gives you your stop loss. This is where I'm entering. And so and so you can plan your trade. Like if I enter here, price pulls back here to this fair value gap, move it over a little bit. And so it kind of did that, right? Like price bumped out and then it came back to this little gap right here. and we have these wicks. So if this is going to be my entry point, where do I put my stop loss and how do I set myself to 2 to 5 risk to reward? So you can use that tool to give you that. And so you would set your stop loss at this point. I'm going to find that video for you guys too. Actually, if you go to TradingView YouTube page, they will give you a probably better detailed explanation of how to use it than I did. But as you can see, it's a very helpful tool. Now, mind you, if the trade just keeps going up, your risk to reward just keeps increasing because, I mean, that's what it did on this one. But
You
if you
have
were
to be
just
pretty
initially,
fast.
um, so yeah, but you're watching price pull back already. So you're already anticipating something. So you have time to just, it actually kind of helps you to plan before you take an entry, right? Like you have time. Like if this plays out, then I know that my risk to reward is already set, where my stop loss is going to go, where my trade is going to go. So anything outside of your 2 to 1 risk to reward, you've already profited more in that trade. You're
Right.
entering here around 106. It gets to 108, but then you see, well, yeah, it got to 108 for Tuesday. So that's a 2 to 4, 2 to 5. You could round off to risk to reward just by entering from here. You have your stop loss, never got stopped out, and you have your move here. And then you can adjust it. Like if you don't want to have a 2 to 1, maybe you want to have a tighter stop loss.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you want to set your stop loss, it kind of just gives you that visual of it. And so if we replayed this, let's just, I'm liking the trade. I'm going to start watching it here and then just let it play out.
Renetta, do you mind too, like planning out one for tomorrow? I just want to see, are you and I on the same?
Okay, we
Would
can
you be?
map it out. We definitely can.
I mean, I know time is, fleeting here.
No, we can map it out. Maybe someone else might be interested. So as you can see, it never came to your stop loss. This is a good trade. Even if you entered, you did a fair value gap entry from basically you planned a pullback entry. And I'm gonna stop it here. But yeah, that was pretty good. Like you can see how it works. And so if you're struggling, you also want to know what's your risk to reward when you take a trade. And then you clean it up to what's best for you. And then you could even get funky with it and get in these settings and actually put your position size. Just a lot you can do with it. So what I will say for everyone is that if you're using TradingView, they drop all the gems of how to use these tools in their YouTube. You just go watch the videos.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it because this is
Hey, look,
good.
there's Elliott waves, right? We were talking about that, some of the ladies from Selena's.
Yeah, Selena was telling me that we're that way because I go each night and plot out and set my high and low of the day. And she said through Elliott Wades, which I hadn't, you could do it where it automatically does it for you. So I'll have to, you just reminded me, I need to look that up, Elliott.
Um, the market, yeah, those swing highs and lows. If you're not comfortable with that, that's kind of when you want to find a more stable trade, right? Like buy and trading QQQ, if you're not prepared for those swing highs and lows and those like quick drops, then maybe finding a stock that's a little bit more clean of a trade, less volatile will be your best bet, right? Like actually this one was a good example of a pretty clean trade. Like you just find what's trending, what has some
Mhm.
news, what maybe had good earnings, and you just try to find your wave there. Now, if you're trading SPY and QQQ, you truly just have to know where they're going and your key break points. So I mean, if it doesn't stop you out, which honestly a lot of traders were getting stopped out left and right. It was crazy. VIX was doing all kind of crazy stuff up and down, but ultimately, if you were just following your EMAs and knowing that we needed to revisit and test some resistance and support, then you should be good. How do you use the 15-minute time frame to support your? Honestly, sometimes what I do with the 15-minute, because I do like the 15-minute, is if I'm seeing a lot of choppiness, like QQQ is probably an example, seeing a lot of choppiness, then I probably will use the 15 minute to just watch and see when we get an actual clean breakout. It keeps me a little bit calmer because the 5 minute is just a lot going on too. But when you just follow the 15 minute, you still can get a good entry point, right? Like, this is Tuesday. So this is Tuesday. This is the 15 minute candle. This is all the way at like 1 o'clock. And we get that breakout on the 15 minute, you still can find your entry and you still catch a nice move on it. Like actually I would have liked this candle here.
So on the 15 minute, that was my question because I hear people say, you know, you can look at the 15 minute to gain confidence on what the
Mm-hmm.
5 minute is doing, right? So, and see, I don't know why I think like this hustle, but it seems to me like if I'm watching the 15 minute, it seemed like to me in my head the play is already run through.
But that's psyching
Does that
yourself
make
out.
sense?
Yeah, but you're psyching. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm so
Okay.
sorry. I forgot I had groceries delivered. I'm just gonna put it in the house. 1 second.
Because if I'm looking at this and then I see the choppiness,
Hey
right?
team, maybe someone in the group can answer this question. What happens when there's a demand zone in between a area of support and resistance? Do you stay away from those plays, like on the lower time frame? Say, for example, you have a demand zone, a red demand zone on the 5 minute chart, and it's right in between the support and resistance bands. Do you wait until for it to clear that area of demand before entering the play, or is it? Do you just say you look at the higher time frames, confirming that it's going to break through that area of demand and
Well, for me, it kind of
towards?
depends on how fast the stock is moving, and if it's already choppy, and I'm like,
Okay.
okay, I'm kind of like, okay, it's already stuttering a little bit. When they get to the demand zone, I'm like, that's going to be even more support. But if it's constant green and it's got momentum and volume, I'll let them hang a little bit to see if we can puncture it, right?
Okay.
That's just me though.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
You
And
know
you
what
mean,
I do? I usually if I'm in a trade, because I usually now been trying to scalp a day trade, I'll go through for me, the 4 hour, the 15 minute, the 5 and the 1, and I'll see where the demand zones are if it's going up, or this supply zones if it's going down, and I mark them so I sort of know them, and I use my discretion, like he said, based on how fast the stock is moving. But then on each time, I already have where they are, so I'll mark them on each one on my chart like a line, and I'll say
Mm-hmm.
this came off the 4 hour, this came off,
mhm,
and then that I use my discretion from there.
Okay.
mhm.
And
Oh,
another
excuse me,
thing,
all in one.
go
All in
ahead.
one. I had a quick question. When you were saying about the volume and stuff, like when you looking at your wolf chart and say we like moving up, and you see like the red zone above that, you saying like if we feeling like we got a lot of volume and volatility, you would jump in there thinking like it's gonna push straight through.
That depend on what my wolf chart was doing. If my wolf chart started to curve and I get the sell signal, then I'm thinking about
You
I'm
jump.
I'm setting up to get out.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
That's a good
Okay.
That's
question,
No.
and I want to show y'all something because actually I feel like that happened here. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I think price came here to a sell zone. Let's see. Yeah, you see it?
boom.
But I wasn't afraid of it on the 15 minute because I had already analyzed the higher time frames. There was nothing really there but this
Mm,
little piece of resistance. And I knew buyers were really in control of this trade since yesterday. So you see what we
mm,
did? We popped right out of that.
mm,
Right.
So you just
And
gotta
hustle.
know where you're going, and then the 15 minute time frame supply zone can be knocked out with the right amount of buyers.
mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that was a good question. Because it was literally this trade. And so you can see the choppiness, and this is what I did wrong. I was already in the trade, but I think once we got to the choppiness, I set a stop loss too tight because I'm just like, just in case we sell off. And so somewhere it knocked me out, and then it actually did the move. I'll bury my
Usually
feelings about that one, but I messed up. I did mess up. What are the best indicators to use for Tesla? Tesla is its own
It's a beast.
thing. Yeah.
not.
So,
I'm
um,
scared of Tesla. I'm
Woo!
scared to death.
Oh,
of Tesla.
to use the
me too.
That thing. Woo.
Take all your little bread in
so
like 3 minutes.
I think those are great questions. So here's the thing you can do with Tesla, right? I'll go back to this tonight or early in pre-market and give the analysis of what I think is going to happen. And we can compare notes. I think that was Tammy.
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. So we could keep moving. That's fine.
So let's look at Tesla because I know a lot of people try to handle this beast, and yes, it absolutely can pay you well, right?
Hmm.
Um, what I would recommend on Tesla, let's see how it plays out. Obviously, I do the previous day high and low. That's just my best practice. That for some reason, for me, just knowing the previous day high and low, I know my key range. So that's the best way I can explain it, is I know my key range for the day, for the next day over. Then I'm just looking at my EMAs. And so, I mean, it's going to give you the same signals. It's just beastie. Like if you were in this is Monday. This is all Monday. Oh, so Tesla tries to do something Monday at the closing. This is on a
Hmm. It got
15
pulled
minute.
back. Like I know yesterday it went shot up, and
Mm-hmm.
then like 10 minutes before closing, that they brought it way back down to like from 78 to 72.
But see what happened is we were playing around your previous day low. Somewhere I had marked previous day low. So what I would do with Tesla is this same story. And you can see we just have an inside day today. And you can actually see that maybe we can keep this. This was the previous day that I was measuring. So I probably haven't looked at Tesla since Thursday of last week. And the reason why I did that is to see if I can get a trade Friday. And so it was initially this low was being respected and price was trying to close above it, and then now we're under it. So I would keep this one on my chart. I would just have it as resistance and then do the same thing. You just measure your high and your low. And you still know that you're inside the candle here. So you could still look at these, see how it works out? Like you still are inside this candle. So the high and the low of this candle actually still means something to me too. Then you have the high and the low of this candle. So you can map it out like this, but ultimately they really just need to break out of 280, 88 and hold that to do some more continuation to test, I guess, resistance. They got a big fair value gap. They need to come test at 309. So it's just a matter of when they'll do it. 309. So indicator wise, like if you're saying what's the best indicators, one, personally with Tesla, I would recommend your ORB. It because I just find that Tesla does well if you follow the ORB and you catch it on a nice moving day. Like if you just catch a nothing day with Tesla, then I mean obviously just leave it alone. Leave it alone. There's not much to do with it. But trying to find an opening candle so we could do an example. Mm. Okay, so this is all Tuesday. So Tuesday, Tesla had a drop. Yep, a nice gap down. And so when you're doing your ORB, and you can do the ORB with the wolf chart, like it can go together. Like you're just looking at the 5 minute candle, the first 5 minute candle. You could toss in an anchor VWAP. Okay, see what price is below it, and you see when price is above your anchored VWAP, anchored VWAP. And then price comes by, and same story with your EMAs and this anchor VWAP is just choppy. But nevertheless, if you wanted to follow the ORB, it's getting a little cluttered, take that off. Then you would just be looking at the first 5 minute candle. So let's just take away all like just take everything off for a second, and we're just looking at the candle. Come on. There we go. So then you just measure your high and your low. Like you can draw a box if you want to, a rectangle. Where's my rectangles?
I always draw the rectangle. I just find
You like
softly.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just measure your rectangle here, right? And you can keep extending this as the day goes by. Like, and you can adjust it however you want to get it as accurate as you can. But you're just measuring the high and the low of this first opening candle. So if you knew nothing, and we got to shout out Selena because she really walked us through this one day in a live, and I have been using it just as another way of looking at the charts. But if you're looking at this high and low, then you know that what we want is a breakout. It's the same thing as measuring the high and the low of the day. We want to break out or we want to break under. And in this case, your entry point wouldn't be this candle here. It would be this candle here. No, we're still touching the ORB, so technically not really. Mm, see, this is why I like my EMAs. Yeah, you really wouldn't have I mean, to me, it wouldn't have been the cleanest trade unless you entered knowing we were off the EMAs, which is probably what I would have done. It's just waited for some rejection candles here, and then knowing I'm off my EMA, you catch the downtrend here. But ORB would be your next move, and I don't know, I don't like what it did. So what's the move? 266. Oh yeah, that's a lot of money. If you followed ORB from 266.93 all the way down to when you start getting a little weak. Mm, I don't know. I don't like this example in Tesla. I'd have to find a better one. You do get the break, you do get the retest, and when they came back and retested it, it was choppy inside the ORB. And so maybe the better one move was actually the breakout on Tuesday. So anyone that caught puts here, we had already gapped down quite a bit. So I gave a few more dollars out of the box, but then there was a nice opportunity from this candle here to here. So you can use ORB. I've seen it much cleaner. I don't know if I like this example. And my thing is when price is simply under your EMAs, you look to see if we're going to just keep that going as well. And then you have to always look to the left, like where is our nearest support? And you might have to find that on Tesla on a larger time frame for this example because we really dipped pretty low. So you can use the ORB and it's just simply measuring the high and the low of a candle. It works on any stock that you're trading. Again, there's some cleaner moves than this that you can catch on ORB. The thing here with Tesla is we had already did a big gap down. So once it had pulled back just a little bit more, buyer starts to step in and bounce this baby back up. So the nice move on Tesla was actually to grab those calls once we started to reverse here and reclaim the EMAs. I'll have some chats. Let's see. How can you go over how you set up
Sorry,
ORB? Okay.
can you can you tell me what time frame that was that you just used for Tesla?
The 5 minute. Now Tesla
Okay,
is
thank you.
expensive, right? Monday through it gets a little bit cheaper as you get to Thursday and Friday for contracts. You can do ODTE if you have a nice trend on it. However, don't forget you can do TSLL. So if you have a smaller account and you are not one to pay the big bucks for Tesla, it's a double spot. Tesla. You can do TSLL on that. Sometimes, yeah, practice with TSLL. So yeah, you can catch some nice moves with ORB. Like don't sleep on this method because it definitely works.
The returns would be higher on Tesla though, since it's more expensive though, right?
You know, I honestly don't mess with the expensive Tesla contracts, so I don't know. My idea is that this is the cleanest move right here because the gap down already had happened. Like most of it happened. So you get a few more dollars technically, but if you were catching the reversal on Tuesday on Tesla, you get the crossover of your 20 and your 9, and you get the ride up. You already caught a nice move. So you're catching a move from like 268 if you're just following your EMAs, like we're gonna just take ORB out for a second, you move to your resistance area at 280. That's a nice move. That was really good actually. So you just gotta be careful. You have to let Tesla prove what it's doing. Like even this is a nice move down, right? Like you could have caught it. but this was the best trade right here. So you would have caught a little bit of it, depending if you were doing ORB. You could have said, well, you know what? We're not coming to our 9 and our 20, so and we're under 200. I'll take puts. It's just a little risky. I don't like to take too many risky trades. Let's see what it looks like on the wolf chart. Somebody said Stressler. I do agree. Tesla was really like my first heartbreak of a loss. Like it was insane. I was really humbled. Okay, so see on the wolf chart prices under the WTMA, it already had gap down. So yeah, you could have took it down until it started to change and reverse on you. Here's your signal, right? But then we did a little bit more of a pullback, so kind of a fake out. You probably would have got stopped out taking the calls here. The cleaner trade was the 12 being reclaimed, and then you're just riding all the way up. You get some red candles. We're not afraid of red candles. You just gotta think like a stock running up, it takes a deep breath too. Like it has to breathe. So you might get that red candle. Sellers take a little bit of a moment, but we're always above the EMA. That's good. That's a really good clean trade. Any questions? We're about at 8 o'clock. Maybe I can cover like a few stocks, maybe 2 to 3, 1 to 2. Someone said something
Oh, could
earlier.
you
Was it
please?
IWM? What you got?
MSTR, I believe.
MSTR. Okay. Hey, did you catch any of it?
Oh no, I was just looking at it and I was like, I think I might see something for later on, maybe. When I was looking at like the I think it was the hour or the day chart.
Ooh.
After that one, can you also take a peek at Palantir for tomorrow?
Yes, I can. Let's see.
I was looking at that space right there.
Yep, that's but I mean, so they have a nice opportunity to gap up. Where we get this from? We're getting it from this candle. So what's that? 323.71 is where you might catch that reaction as soon as they hit that. But again, they could, it just depends. Like, isn't there like a summit happening that's going to affect probably Bitcoin? I wonder if it's a seller news type of event. So let's experience,
Yes,
MicroStrategy.
there's a potential of that, correct.
Uh,
It's still room, right? Because you're getting the curve, you're potentially getting that crossover, right?
mhm.
Inverse. And then we're at the 200. The last time we were at the 200, we did break it, but didn't hold it. We're back again. So yeah, they can come close this gap up here. It seems pretty easy. It just will
Yeah.
depend on if we get a continuation. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, you're seeing it right though.
Okay. Yep. I
Watch what
just
they
was
do
because
here.
I've heard you. Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
Oh no, I've heard like you and the Wolf. I've definitely seen him say what he considers like a A+ trade, and I noticed it's like a gap like that. So I've been trying to find stuff like that.
Yeah, let me put in my Wolf Pro and see what it's picking up for. Yes, okay. So see that we're right at some resistance. So where is that coming from here? We're right at resistance. If we can break that resistance and you then you can mark it on your chart at like 308.90. And so then you're looking to see if price can start
Yeah, I got a
holding.
reminder. Yeah.
Awesome. So then yeah, you said if price can start holding over here, then yeah, we can probably come and do this gap up here and test this.
Okay. Yep. That's all I was wondering.
Yes, I'm gonna put this on my YouTube. I'm not in Christane right now, so it would just be YouTube or the other Discords you can catch me in. Don't get humbled too much on Tesla. Who was the other Palantir? And I swear someone put something in chat for earlier. Let me see. Okay, yep, I'll be in D-Fresh. Tesla. Okay, so we'll do Palantir, but there was one more. IWM. Okay, it was IWM. That's for you, Hal, huh? Let's see. Okay, so Palantir. Oh, I do like that they're above this resistance. Oh, wait, this isn't the right chart. One second.
Does Baba still have some upside to it? Because it's trading at all time high.
Hey, Baba can run. We got to see where they're at, actually. If they hit 144, 140, I need to go look at that.
It's 141. It closed at 141.
So they still can
Oh,
probably gap up to 144, if I remember correctly where they were before.
Mm-hmm.
Palantir needs to reclaim this 12 EMA at 92.77, somewhere around there, 92-ish. Where are they closed? Yeah, this one is pretty easy. Just measure your high and your low in Palantir. Know that we have the 12 right above it on the daily, somewhere around 92. And we actually haven't really been there this week. So that's what you're looking for. In fact, it's still struggling right here, measuring this high and low as resistance and support. 90.48, and so it closed at 90.13. So it's still struggling to break the high and low of this candle. So nothing other than I would say measure your high and your low points, know your support and your resistance, and then you can take this trade based on Palantir usually does really well with ORB. Oh, look at all this resistance. So when I'm seeing this, sometimes it's better just to see if price can break it, and then if it holds here, you know your next target will be 93, right? Like if you see open space, you want to see this clear first before you start jumping in. If you're not already in a trade from like a very lower entry. Let me do a quick review on the weekly. So it looks like price pulled back to the 12 EMA. You're getting an arc here. Well, I'm not going to say you're getting it, possibly. And we are respecting the previous week's low. We haven't broke under that, which was 78.58. And the lowest we've got so far this week is 79.30. So buyers are holding it up. We're still trying to reclaim and hold above the 12 EMA. So we need to see if that actually happens. Yes, always continue to trade as long as you are above your EMA. You want to stay in a trade as long as you're above your EMA, but you also want to be mindful of your nearest support and resistance because it'll act as your exit point, or at least a point that you need to see break. And when you see a break, you also want to at some point see that stock come back and retest it. I was trying to see if maybe we have an example, but I mean, technically you can look at this. This is a bigger picture break and retest example. And so Palantir had this big gap up right from earnings, but this is what we were closing. And so as you can see, price came right back to that here. So we had if you look at it from just the daily, which is a bigger picture, we get this gap up, we hit an all-time high, and we pull back. We lose the EMA, right, 12, and we pull back all the way to close the gap and then some. But it reacted where it was supposed to because there's like this, yeah, it reacted right where it's supposed to and it held. And it's actually reclaiming that support that we came back to test and confirm as support. So we did a little bit of a pullback. Maybe we stopped out some people here and we're bouncing back up. It's to be determined, but this is a good stock. So yeah, you can follow your EMAs and your other confirmation systems for Palantir. Um, let's just see. Yeah, there's some resistance definitely there that they would need to break through. They're right at it. They keep coming back to it and then they're pulling back. So
with that level of resistance, Renette, would that stop you from entering a trade on the lower time frames?
yeah, if I didn't get it here, I don't really want it. I would know exactly where I'm at. So my chart will look like this because typically if I'm gonna trade it, I usually will share a copy of my chart. And so it'll be like, I just might have myself a note that says 1 hour supply zone. Or you can just put resistance, whatever you want to label it. So when I see this on the 5 minute chart, I just don't need to touch it.
Mm.
Um, unless I had a really nice entry. Your entry points are better here. Well, when you get your confirmation, but it almost did like a little W. Yeah. And so, yeah, if you would have had a better entry point, but once we're here, if I'm trying to plan a trade for tomorrow, I just know that it's a mess right here. So then I have to ask myself if is it worth it? Otherwise, I'm just going to set an alert and maybe when price gets here or here, like okay, if you clear this supply zone, let's see 1 second. Okay, if you clear this supply zone right here, right? That's I'll just give you the exact number, 94.11. Then there's going to be this break of structure that we will consider resistance at 95. And so you get a cleaner trade right here, just cleaner. So your
I got
strike
a
price would probably be like 95, 96, or 98. But the clean space is what I want. If we're here and I didn't get myself the best entry at lower prices, I just need to be patient. Someone said they had a question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. How far past resistance do we have to confirm like that it's a good opportunity to buy?
Are you like buying, you mean like for a long-term hold?
Even like just a quick play. How far past resistance do we have to go to determine like if we're gonna take that trade or not?
So in a situation like this, and mind you, I'll do my homework before. So in this case, before I'm taking any trade with Palantir, I'm going to analyze a few time frames. And so I personally wouldn't be interested in Palantir at where it's at right now. Um, that doesn't mean that with time we can't actually pull back and then bounce and break that supply zone. It's just now I know that's on my chart, and you can see what candles are doing when we get here. So it's kind of worth it to actually confirm that breakout, which is probably somewhere here. Wait, hold on. Let's go to 1 hour. This would be the nice test though. The high of this candle seems to be 99.01, ideally. So in a trade like this, I just don't see the benefit for me of taking it here. The people that are winning were the people that grabbed some at the demand zone, and some once we started reclaiming the EMA. And so now for me, the patience is here because then I know we'll come potentially test this supply zone. Otherwise, I just think this is a lot of chop. And because I'm chasing it at a point where it's already at resistance, I just need to be more patient and aware of waiting. You can set yourself an alert. If it signals, you want to see what's happening and maybe take the trade then. Or wait for a good pullback. I'm gonna do IWM and then we'll wrap up. I didn't want to stay too long in charts because I just wanted to kind of help you guys like analyzing. Let's see. Is Hal still on? Did we take this to the downside or the upside? They had a nice bounce today. It's just an inside day for IWM. And if they did move up, they're still going to have some problems around 209.75. From here, if you're not getting them on a pullback, their best bite is when they start to hold above probably 210, 211. 211 sounds better. So if you were taking a bullish trade, they're going to hit resistance at 209.77. They closed at 208.53. And so, yeah, just getting above a 211 seems like the better move for IWM from here. Now, again, if you end up getting like a really nice entry all the way at the bottom somewhere, testing some support, you can plan your trade out like that. You can do ORB, but otherwise, to me from here, yeah, they can come to this 209, but we know it's choppy up until they get over 211. But if you're taking it from the 5 minute, it's a clean trade. You just know that there's some choppiness from those larger time frames. I don't know who had asked about it. It was Hal. I'll put in the gas station my review on IWM just for some prep work for you guys. Okay, we are almost at 8:30, so I need to wrap up to get with my little people. Any questions before we close up? Anything we didn't cover that maybe you want to ask about?
Can we take a peek at Meta real quick?
Meta? Okay.
Yeah.
See how fast I say yes? I could do this all day. It's just I gotta go make sure these kids get in that bed.
Specifically on the 4-hour chart. So I'm
Okay.
looking at the 4-hour chart. It's hitting resistance at the 12 EMA,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, does it have some upside to it tomorrow? Because it kind of went on a little run today.
There goes 3 soldiers on a 4-hour.
Yeah, that actually
Three.
looks pretty good. If they can get that above this 12 EMA, that's a nice move.
Huh.
Did we get that crossover? I didn't pay attention on the 4.
It's
Let's
very
see.
close.
You see, I've already had this plotted, the 638.40, but you see how important it is? Even when it went under, price wick right back up real quick. I don't remember where I got it from. Yeah, you see here, this candle. And then we broke that here, and then we came back to it, and it's been holding. So I would still keep 638.40 as a key point. In fact, did we touch it today? Yeah, we came a little bit under it. So yeah, I like this target as support. Again, with Meta, I would always say in my personal recommendations, know your high and your low point, know what's ahead on the daily. We can come test this 670 area, which is where your 12 would be positioned. But I like the support, 638.40 seems to be holding up well. In fact, we broke it and came right back to it. So you're getting actually, again, another example on the daily chart of where we broke and retested. Now we start losing it, Meta can start to probably pull back some more here. I don't know if that'll happen, right? But just be mindful of that number, 638.40.
Okay.
But yeah, you have your eyes right. Like if we can get above the 12 and the candle's showing up on the 4-hour, then yeah, you have a nice move to here, 669, and then you want to see above that. We'll come and probably test 689 area. So that's Meta. I do like that they held support here. So we'll have to see if that really does hold. You're welcome. Thank you for joining me. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up here. I will post this to my YouTube. I know it's a little informal, but I still want to have it available for anyone that wanted to catch up. And then I may go ahead and do let's see. I'll probably post a video Thursday evening to my YouTube channel. I will. I'm going to say I will. I'll commit to making a video for Thursday just to give us an idea of where we're going Friday. So that'll either be a YouTube video posted Thursday evening, or you'll get an invite that I'm going to go live early in the morning, and then I'll post it just for some pre-market talk.
Awesome.
So have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thanks for joining me today.
Man,
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
everything.
Have an awesome day, everyone. Evening,
As
night.
You
well.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.